What's up guys, today I'm going to be showing you guys how to do this new ACD zero feedback fence trick that you can do on multiple different subclasses, but as you see on screen right here with Strand, it is pretty good. I originally saw this on Twitter by a user called Hoxton. I'm going to go ahead and link their Twitter in the description below. But in this video, we're also going to be going over a Stasis build that is arguably just as cool, if not even better, that will be on screen here in a few seconds. So this season, the feedback fence got updated like previous exotics last season, and this one has a lot of changes. Melee hits grant armor charges, and you take less melee damage while you have armor charge. Taking melee damage causes you to emit a burst of damaging arc energy that jolts targets, consuming your armor charge, and dealing more damage based on the stacks you have. So looking at all that in the game, first off, when you get any melee hit of any kind, you'll get 1 armor charge. When you get melee, you'll take less damage from those attacks, but also then do the burst of arc energy, which will then do damage and jolt targets. And you can easily ramp this up very quickly by using stacks on stacks with 1 all the way up to 3 charged ups to get to 4, 5, and 6 armor charges. And now on any melee hit, we'll get 2 armor charges. And then if we do repeated ones, it'll go to 4, then 6. So it's going to be a very fast way to get armor charges that don't rely on kills or anything like that. And looking at the damage of the jolt and the arc energy, it's going to be 7k with 2, and obviously jolt the targets. Then with 4 armor charges, it'll go up a little bit higher to roughly double at 15. Then with all 6, it's going to be obviously the highest and do 27k and jolt the targets. So that's not gonna be like a huge amount of damage. That's gonna be like one-hitting mini bosses and things like that. It's just gonna be a good way to kill like red bars near you and jolt them. But more so, the whole thing about the feedback fence now is the whole armor charge loop that does not require any final blows and is very easy. So starting off on Strand, what you can do with the Storm Strand aspect, if you haven't used this one, while sliding, activate your charge melee ability to leap into the air, knocking nearby targets away and dealing damage. While airborne, activate your charge melee again to launch a cluster of damaging, unraveling projectiles. Repeatedly activating melee will chain additional throws. So normally with this ability, you can only do 5 melee attacks before you run out of your charge. But now with this exotic and our whole build, every single melee hit will count as 4 hits, which means we'll easily proc all 6 armor charges. And what we can do is just hold down the melee button. I literally turn on full auto melee and just simply held down the button. There's no timing to it. You just simply attack over and over again, and every single hit will give you the full 6 armor charges. And we look at the rest of the build. We want to run Banner of War for a 40% melee buff. All we have to do is get melee killed to start this chain, and after that, getting any final blows will extend the timer and the healing pulses. And for fragments, there's nothing in particular that benefits this build in any way. It's just based on your neutral play and what you're running. You can use whatever you want. And looking at our mods, there's going to be a few that are important. Starting off on our gauntlets with double melee kickstart, be very vital to this build. Then the 3 charged up. And finally, the last important one is going to be the stacks on stacks. That is the core of the build. The rest is kind of what you want. And another thing that is important is tier 10 strength. The higher, the better. Obviously, tier 10 is what I'm using in this gameplay. And as we showed off multiple times so far, the end result of all these different mods is you just simply hold down the melee button, and every single melee hit will consume all 6 stacks and give you 6 more, making it an infinite loop, and you never run out of your melee. If the combo does stop, it's probably because you missed a melee or the game just couldn't keep up and didn't proc the melee kickstarts. And after making that build, I was looking at all the other melees on the different subclasses, and there's a few different coolings you can do, but by far the second best will be on Stasis with the Howl of the Storm aspect, where while sliding, activate your charge melee ability to launch a wave of stasis energy forward that freezes targets and creates stasis crystals. So looking at that, the reason this one is so good is because it interacts the same way as the Strand one, where you can get multiple melee hits per activation. And the way it works on Stasis is whenever you create crystals from an ability, they're always coded the same as the ability they came from. So these ones count as melee hits when they're formed and when they're shattered, which means we can easily get all 6 of our armor charges with the same build that we showed off before every single time we use our melee. And we further combo that with Tectonic Harvest to create the Stasis Shards. We're also running the Glacier Grenade, just another way to create crystals. And unlike the Strand build, the fragments are actually very important. Whisper Fissures to increase the damage and radius of the shatters. Rending to make it easier to shatter them with our kinetic weapon. Hunger to greatly increase the amount of melee energy we get back from picking up these shards. And finally, the 4th slot, there's going to be 3 you can use. I think the best is going to be Rhyme for the constant overshield, but you could also use one of 2 other, the first being Whisper Chains for the damage reduction being near the crystals or frozen targets. But as you'll see in this gameplay, we kind of shatter everything so quickly that I think the Rhyme is better uptime with the overshield. They both kind of heal you or keep you alive in different ways. And finally, if you're lazy, Whisper a Conduction to make these shards track to you. But as you'll see in gameplay, a lot of time the crystals and therefore shards are right in front of you and you kind of just walk through them as you do it. So I don't think that one's necessary. I'd rather run one of the other 2. And for weapons on both of these builds, you can use basically whatever you want. I'm using Monte Carlo because it's all about melees and can help you get your melee back if something goes wrong. But on the Stasis build, you can really use whatever kinetic you want. One with Swashbuckler and Grave Robber would be probably ideal. And as we've been kind of showing off, same way as the Strand build, every single time we use our melee, we'll easily get all 6 armor charges, use our next melee to get a huge chunk back instantly, and picking up the shards will finish off the job, and it'll make it an easy, infinite melee loop, creating 4 crystals every single time, and freezing targets, and basically nothing in your lobby will be able to play the game. And this build is very fireteam friendly because it's so easy to loop. You don't need final blows, all you need is to hit things with the formation or the shatters, and it's an infinite loop. And you can do this on a boss kind of like the Strand one, but obviously the damage is not as good. This is going to be more so an actor build and an ad control build, and it excels extremely well at that. I could definitely see this being used in Curtis Inn because of all the tight corridors with a lot of thrall, acolytes, and things like that, or even knights, or even being close quarters and just constantly freezing and shattering them would be pretty strong. So whereas the Strand build was kind of like an infinite damage combo for boss fights, this one is definitely way stronger for actor and just journal play. And I was having a ton of fun playing on it in this new activity, which I think might be where I show off a lot of builds because you're forced under light, so it's good to show off a little bit harder content, and they're still obviously really good at density in this very first encounter. So there's a good chance I'll be using this more often in videos, which should be good overall. But yeah, both in the first clip and now in this clip, once I get up to the Lucent Hive, as you can see, I mean, they just simply can't play the game. And with this build, you're going to be up close and personal a lot, which is where that 4th fragment comes into play, getting the overshield, or if you run, I think it was called Chains, for the just strict DR. Both are really good and will keep you alive. And you could even put on different mods to like create orbs, and with those orbs you can run something like recuperation to get health back, so there's definitely a lot of ways to heal if you need to. But ideally you're going to be doing this in a fire team, not like doing a 3-man activity solo, right? And you'll have fire team members obviously helping you out, and you'll just be freezing and shattering everything left and right. Anyways, I think that's going to be it for the video. Definitely check out both of these builds. They're extremely fun and pretty good. Like usual, thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.